The song by Elton John, I'm Still Standing, definitely applies to the Prescott football team. After last night, they are one of 8 teams left standing in the 4A conference. The Badgers had a rematch with Vista Grande. Got to make sure I say it properly, even though I have heard it pronounced Grande and Grand. I don't know. Maybe it's like how some people say water and others like me say wooder. Anyway, 4A conference state playoffs for football got going last night, and when you looked at both the Badgers and the Spartans, they came across as pretty evenly matched. I expected a close game. My broadcast partner from last night, Kelly Cordes, also expected a close game. I think a lot of other people also expected a close game too. So, what happened? Well, Prescott scored on the first play of their first drive of the game, helped out by the fact that the punter for Vista Grande bobbled the snap and then got nailed at the 3-yard line. So, yeah, that's inviting a touchdown right there. Next thing you know, the Badgers are up 28-0. Vista Grande did pick up their play in the second half, but, by then it was too little too late. And Prescott, well, they got the win last night, 42-20, the final score. Great game by Adam Lloyd, who had 3 touchdown runs. Johan Gunderman, well, along with making all his extra point attempts, as he usually does, he had a touchdown run. Actually, that's his first touchdown run of the season. Normally, he catches touchdowns. Last night, he ran it in. Then Josiah Peoples, he caught 2 touchdown passes, both in excess of 40 yards, and he also had a sack. Tenacious T, Uriah Tenet, he was the guy who threw those 2 touchdown passes. And I got to make mention of this because prior to the game, down on the field, and some of the Badgers were warming up, and Uriah was wearing this all-white warm-up outfit, and he had a white mask on that covered the lower half of his face. And I swear, for all you nerds out there, he looked like the spitting image of the ninja character Storm Shadow from the G.I. Joe cartoon. And I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking this, and I just start laughing. And his dad actually comes up to me, and he's going, "What's up, man?" So I told him, look at Uriah. I swear to you, Uriah looks just like Storm Shadow from G.I. Joe. And his dad says to me, "Post it." And I did. And you can check it out on my Facebook page and my Instagram page and tell me that Uriah does not look like Storm Shadow in those photos. I mean, minus the ninja sword. Also, congrats to Uriah Tenet as he officially signed with the UC San Diego men's basketball team earlier this week. And also, Uriah was involved in a little bit of an incident during last night's game. Late in the second half, he got flipped around and driven into the ground on a tackle. It was kind of like a move straight out of the WWE. And it appeared he took exception to the way he got tackled because the Vista Grande player, he picked him up off the ground or helped him up off the ground, and Uriah just snatched his arm back. And, players on both sides, they came together for a bit, but props to the coaches, props to the referees for coming in there, separating anyone before they really started mixing it up. Because if you remember, the last time these 2 teams got together in the regular season, you had that big flare-up in the handshake line after the game. Thankfully, it didn't escalate to that point, and that reaction, it kind of took me by surprise with Uriah because I've always known him as being a pretty easygoing guy. But, hey, even the nicest of people, well, they have their limits, and I guess you can just chalk it up to a heat-of-the-moment thing, and it was over just like that anyway. Also, had a really scary moment in last night's game. Just before the end of the first half, Vista Grande called a timeout, and while the Spartans were walking back to their sidelines, their top running back, Fernando Moya, just collapsed. And along with that, his legs were shaking, the training staff, and even the Prescott police were out there to help. And folks, I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever heard Bill Shepard Field as quiet as it was when all that was going on, understandably so. This is a pretty serious situation. In fact, Moya had to be taken away in an ambulance. And after the game, I did ask Prescott Athletic Director Missy Townsend if she'd heard anything about Moya, and thankfully, she reported that he was doing fine. So just really glad to hear that, and hope all is well for Fernando Moya moving forward. And what was really nice to see was that while that was going on, Vista Grande was kneeling in a circle, praying for their teammate, and the Badgers all got up, ran across the field, and joined Vista Grande in that prayer circle to show their support to Moya. And whatever bad blood there might have been between the two teams, all that was put aside because at that point, this isn't an opponent. It's a 17, 18-year-old kid, a fellow athlete who's going through a serious medical issue, and you just want him to get through it all right. And I don't know, maybe Prescott and Vista Grande, maybe they can be an example of even if we are on opposite sides of the spectrum, there are times we can come together in the name of compassion and humanity and simple decency, because from what we've seen in the aftermath of this election, I think we do need examples of that. Well, not just this election. I think from what we've seen over the past decade, hey, look, there are people out there who I just can't stand. Not just because simply of their opinions, but it has more to do with their attitude than their opinions. But you know what? Even so, that doesn't mean I want bad things to happen to them or anyone in their family, and heaven forbid if it did, I would actually have sympathy for them. Unfortunately, I don't think enough people out there have that mentality, so that's something I would definitely like to see changed. Anyway, with that win, Prescott will have to make the long journey next Friday to Snowflake for the Elite Eight of the state playoffs. I'm not joking when I say that's a long journey. Well, I didn't make it 2 years ago because at that time I came down with the unspecified virus of unknown origin, to borrow or steal a phrase rather from one of my favorite YouTubers, the Critical Drinker. But I can look at a map, and I know it's going to be a long journey over there. So long, in fact, I don't know. Maybe I'll need to take a ring with me or something and throw it in a volcano, I guess. That's how long it's going to be. But anyway, Prescott and Snowflake next Friday night. They'll be battling it out in the Elite Eight of state. Also in the postseason, also more postseason action from last night. Bradshaw Mountain football. They had a tight battle with Thunderbird down in Phoenix. Well, it was a tight battle through the first half. The Bears falling to T-Bird 49-20. In fact, score was 28-20 at one point in that game. So Bradshaw Mountain's season is done. They wrap it up with a record of 7-4. Congrats to Bob Young and the Bears on a terrific season. Now, another local postseason action from this week. The Embry-Riddle women's soccer team, they topped the Masters 2-1 in the GSAC championship game Wednesday. First year in their new conference, and the Lady Eagles are the conference champs. They punched their ticket to the NAIA National Tournament. Also on Wednesday, the Prescott flag football team had its very first state playoff game, and they won said very first state playoff game, beating Lee Williams by the score of 19-7. So the number 2 ranked Lady Badgers will host number 7 Benjamin Franklin today at 2 p.m. Wow, back-to-back state playoff games over at Bill Shepherd Field. Honestly, just an incredible first season of Prescott flag football, and that's going to keep on going on as they are now in the Elite Eight. Also, the Prescott swim team took part in the state meet last week down in Mesa, and instead of me giving a quick recap, we're going to hear from members of the team about their accomplishments at state. Joining me in the studio today, I have Coach Bill Revere and 2 of his swimmers, Onwin Smith and Caden Daniels. So we will talk to them on the other side of this break. We'll be back right after this. We are back here on the Tri-City Sports Roundup. John Rust with you here in the studio with me today. Well, we're going to be jumping into the pool, figuratively, since we are here in the studio and we don't have any water around, except what's in our water bottles. Anyway, joining me in the studio today, I have Coach Bill Revere from the Prescott swim team. I also have a pair of his swimmers here. I have Anwin Smith and Caden Daniels. So, guys, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks a lot, John.
Okay, so Bill, going back to last week, it was the state swim meet down at the Skyline Aquatic Center in Mesa, and some really, really good performances by both the Prescott boys and girls down there. In fact, team-wise, Prescott girls came in 11th, the boys were 17th, and that's out of 43 teams who participated in that state meet. So just give us your impressions of the Badgers and their performance in that final meet of the year.
Yeah, they really came in and they put it all together. You work out throughout the whole season trying to peak at the state meet, and that's what we did. And so, yeah, it was super exciting. It's really tiring for the coaches because we're back and forth and trying to make sure everybody's in the right place at the right time. But the kids did great. There were nerves at the beginning, but, that kind of went away, and then we really started putting it in the pool.
And Anwin, you definitely had the best performance of any Badger down there. Not one, but two fifth-place finishes for you. You finished fifth in state in the 50 free and also the 100 fly. So just tell us, what were some of the keys to you getting those top finishes there?
I don't know. I put in a ton of work throughout the season, and I had goals to, place in the top few at state, so I was really working towards that the entire time. Specifically, I would think the fly, because that's pretty much what I would say my main event is. So I just focused on those and, put in the best I could effort-wise at practice and at the meets before that.
Yeah. Of course, going in there, obviously you were among some of the favorites competing for a state championship. You've had a phenomenal season. It seems like every time I get a text from Coach Revere, it's always, Anwin broke this record. Anwin broke that record. Anwin broke her record from last year. Anwin broke another record of hers from last year. So obviously a lot of the spotlight was on you there. So, was there any big time nerves for you? Any pressure on you, knowing that a lot was expected from you in these two events?
Yeah, there was kind of a lot, definitely more than a lot of other invitationals, especially during finals. I was pretty stressed out then, but I think I pretty much got a handle on it there. My teammates, they know me pretty well, so they can, they'll talk to me, kind of help me calm down a little bit. Same with Bill. He's always there behind the blocks with me to help me stop stressing out. So, yeah, it wasn't too bad, actually. But.
Good. And Caden, well, you were also part of a successful relay team. You were part of the 200 free relay for the boys, and you guys had a 9th place finish at the state meet. So tell us what some of the keys were there for you guys to finish in the top 10.
So as a relay, my goal was just to make my split a little bit faster and do good in that. And I think we all did good. We all either PR'd or stayed the same. I know going from 14th to 9th was a really good finish for us. I was proud of that, and I was proud of my performance and the way I swam.
And again, for something like state, I mean, this is it. Actually, it is going to be it for you because you're a senior year. Was there any additional pressure on you guys going into the pool because it was state, and for yourself, this was your senior year, and you wanted to go out with best performance possible?
There was. I don't pressure that much. I kind of I like to listen to my music and focus on the events and everything. But yeah, this is my first time entering state for swim, and as a senior, I thought it was really cool that I had this opportunity. And another big stress little thing I had was all my extended family from the valley was down there watching me, so I was like, oh, I got to do good for them.
Okay, now music nerd well, really not music nerd, more music snob for people who know me. What kind of music were you listening to before the meet?
I was kind of listening to everything. I like one of my top songs is "Poker Face" by Lady Gaga. I know that's kind of crazy, but it's pretty good. I've grown up listening to it. My mom likes her and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm just going to be good and bite my tongue on that. As I said, I'm a music snob, and Lady Gaga is not my particular cup of tea. But to each their own, Me, I'd probably be listening to something like Butcher Babies or Lacuna Coil or something like that, but that's me. Bill, one of the things I wanted to talk about, we were talking about Caden and the relays, and I imagine that might be one of the harder things about a swim team. I mean, it's one thing dealing with individuals, but when you're dealing with the relay, you got 4 kids there. How do you make sure you get the right combination of swimmers to put together a quality relay team like the one Caden was on that had a top 10 finish at the state meet?
Well, it's going to start with time, but it also has a lot to do with how they gel together and swim together. The at the lead off is one of the most important. Also, the number 4 is super important. And then kind of in the middle is where you have to really look at how do they get off the block, how do they swim under that pressure when somebody's coming in and they're coming in hot. There's a lot of commotion that goes on in relays. There's 10 lanes, everybody's got 4 people. So you got a lot of people behind the blocks. Everybody is yelling. You got people going off at different times. And so if somebody gets, jumpy and gets off the block too quick, then it DQs the relay. So, you got to help them to calm down, worry about your lane and not worry about what's going on around them. And then be able to swim as soon as they hit the water and swim at a high rate and come in quick so that the next person gets another good jump. So you got to look at the people and how fast that they swim. It's not just the fastest 4 swimmers. If you have somebody that cannot get off the block or gets off way too fast and DQs, because then the time is done.
Mm-hmm. Now, along with your top 5 finishes at state, you were also part of a relay team. In fact, you were on the 200 relay, and I believe that was an 8th place finish for you ladies. So kind of dovetailing on what Bill said here. What do your teammates do to kind of block out all that chaos going on around you at state and just focus on your lane and when you have to get off the blocks and do your thing?
Well, I don't know, but I think pre-race we all just try to hype each other up, and we're like, okay, you can do this. For the 200, obviously, it's 2 laps. They're like, it's 2 laps. You're doing a 50. Just sprint. Just go. Do the best you can. And that's, it is what it is. But it was a pretty fun relay. The 200, we got the school record in that one. So afterwards, that was a great atmosphere. We were all super happy with our performances, and, everyone did great. But we definitely try to just stay hyped up right before and just basically just do the best we can.
And then, of course, you were part of the 400 relay meet too, and that was an 8th place finish for you guys. And obviously, 400 relay, a lot more effort involved in that. So just tell us about your feeling on that accomplishment of having a top 10 finish there in the 400 free.
Yeah, that one was good. It's also the last event, so by that point we're pretty tired. We're just like, okay, we want to go 4 laps. Let's finish this off. Since it's a lot longer of a race, it can be a lot more exhausting, but we're all still, always cheering for each other, basically just screaming our names off the blocks, go, all the time. But that one was also a really good race, I think. People did really well there.
Great. And, again, kind of like Anwin said, Caden, there are times you guys are going to be swimming 2, 3, 4 different events in a regular season meet, in an invitational. Just talk about what you guys do in order to maintain your stamina, maintain your strength. So even when you're in your 3rd, 4th event of the day, you're not all tuckered out by the time you jump in the pool.
Something that I learned after our ASU meet is you just got to stay warm, wrap up in layers and everything. And then to hold your stamina and everything, we practices. If you like Bill says a lot, you practice how you perform, and that's something I try to strive by. But our practices, 3 hours, 1 hour on dry land, 2 hours in the pool. It's just go, and you're practicing, you're doing your hardest, and that's just going to help you build to the strength you need to compete and everything like that. All our block starts and finishes like that.
Okay. All right. Well, folks, in the studio with me today, I have Coach Bill Revere from the Prescott swim team. Also have two of his swimmers, Onwin Smith and Caden Daniels, with us. And we're going to be talking more about the Prescott swim team and get to know these two a little better here. Yeah, you know what that means. They don't know what that means, but they'll find out on the other side of the break. I'm holding it as a surprise. Why? Because sometimes I like to be a mean person. What can I say? I say that jokingly, by the way. All right, folks, coming up to a break here. But before we go to break, as always, it's time to see who's shined over the past 7 days as we present the Tri-City Sports Roundup 3 Stars of the Week. Starting with the ladies, our number 3 star is Scarlett Frohart of the Embry-Riddle soccer team. She notched 2 goals in the Lady Eagles' 2-1 win over the Masters in the GSAC championship game Wednesday. The number 2 star is Samantha Smith, also of the Embry-Riddle soccer team. She had the game-winning goal in overtime in the Lady Eagles' 1-0 win over Ottawa in the GSAC semifinals last Friday. And our number 1 star of the week is sitting right across from me. It's Onwin Smith of the Prescott swim team. She finished 5th in both the 50 free and 100 fly at the state meet last weekend. Now for the guys, our number 3 star is Grace Benjamin. Our number 3 star is Gage Benjamin of the Bradshaw Mountain football team. He had a 95-yard pick six in the Bears' 47-29 victory over Lee Williams last Friday. The number 2 star is Kylan Jackson of the Bradshaw Mountain football team. He had 4 rushing touchdowns in the Bears' 47-29 triumph over Lee Williams last Friday. And our number 1 star of the week is Storm Shadow, Uriah Tannett of the Prescott football team. He had 3 touchdown passes and 2 touchdown runs in the Badgers' 40-0 win over Mingus last Friday. Congratulations to all our 3 stars of the week. Break time here on the Roundup. We will be back right after this. We are back here on the Tri-City Sports Roundup. John Rust with you here. And hey, folks, if you enjoyed our football game from last night, Prescott versus Vista Grande, we've got more football for you here today, not just on KYCA, but also on our brand new sports station, 1450 AM, The Team. Coming up here on KYCA a little later today, actually at 4 p.m., we've got ASU football. They'll be taking on Kansas State. Then if you go over to 1450 AM, The Team, well, we've got a pair of college football games for you. Coming up at 9:30, we've got Utah at Colorado. Then at 5 p.m., it's Tennessee at Georgia. So if you want your college football fix, man, oh man, we got you covered right here on both KYCA and The Team. We also got NFL action coming up for you tomorrow on The Team. 2 p.m., we've got Kansas City at Buffalo. Then at 5:30 p.m., we've got Sunday Night Football, Cincinnati at the Chargers. On Monday night, well, we've got the Monday night game too. It's Houston at Dallas at 5:30 p.m. Then on Tuesday, we've got some NBA action for you. Oklahoma City at San Antonio at 7 p.m. All of that on our brand new sports station, 1450 AM, The Team. All right, well, in the studio with me today, I've got Coach Bill Revere from the Prescott swim team. I've also got two of his swimmers. I got Anwin Smith and Caden Daniels. And, well, time to find out a little more about their teammates because it is lightning round time. So, Anwin, I'm going to start with, oh, I love the look on your face. You're like, what am I getting into here? Now, folks, there are times when I do brief the athletes on what's coming up with lightning round, and other times when I feel when I'm in a little bit of a mean, sadistic mood, I'll spring it on them as a surprise, like today. So, Anwin, get ready, because I'm going to ask you who on the Prescott swim team is the best dressed athlete. Who is the Prescott fashion plate?
Oh gosh. Oh, I don't know.
Oh no.
I don't know. Danica. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Danica Aldag, freshman.
Okay. Caden, who on the Prescott swim team would you say is the funniest person on the boys or the girls side?
Ooh, I'd have to say Emma.
Emma Chrysler?
Yep. She's pretty outgoing. She's out there.
Okay. Onwin, on the opposite end, who would you say on Prescott Swim is probably the most serious person?
I think I would have to say Danica again, actually.
Oh, okay. So, boy, she gets a double one there, man. And that's Danica Aldag, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now, Caden, who on the Prescott Swim team would you say is the most talkative player? Like someone who if I interviewed him, I'd be just sitting there like forever going, let's go.
Nora Gunderson.
Oh,
Yeah.
Just talk your ear off, huh?
Yep.
Okay. Onward, on the opposite end, who would you say on Prescott is the quietest person?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe Ellie, another freshman swimmer.
Okay. And finally, Caden, who on Prescott do you think can eat the most in one sitting?
Oh, we all have this. All those boys have this running joke. It would be Thomas. Thomas. It's just because of all the team dinners. He's always going up for seconds, and we always make fun of him for it. But we all love him.
Maybe seconds, thirds, and fourths.
Something like that. Yeah.
Oh man. So Bill, we've been talking about the state meet that you guys had there at the Aquatic Center, Skyline Aquatic Center in Mesa, but. Before that, you do your regular season dual or tri meets and everything, but a lot of your weekends during the season are spent at these big invitationals. A couple of examples would be the Craig Cummins Invitational. You guys do that every year. You also do the Forktoberfest down at ASU, and I think another staple for Prescott Swim is the Saturday Night Fever meet. So for those not familiar with these big weekend invites, just tell us what the atmosphere is like down there and how important it is to have your swimmers take part in these big meets.
Well, the invitationals is the way that you qualify for state. So those times will go into max prep, and they take the top 40 in an individual or top 30 relay teams. And so it's super important that you're dropping from the beginning to the end because you want to maintain that spot in state in that top 40 or the top 30. The invitationals, the first one we go to is Cross-White Invite every year. Used to be the Wolves Classic, and there's about 1,200 swimmers there. It has 30 teams. They run 2 pools simultaneously, and so boys in one pool, girls in the other pool, and so it's a daunting atmosphere for somebody that's never been there before. If they've been in club, then they get a taste of that kind of thing. But it is really difficult environment for somebody that's new, and you're just awestruck by what's going on. To swim, you got to swim fast, and but the only way that you're going to do it is to be in that environment, to get through the nerves, so that the next time you go, it's just becomes second nature. So then the next one is Saturday Night Fever or Craig Cummins. They've moved around some, and so we're constantly trying to work on technique, work on speed, work on distance, and so we can continue to drop throughout the season and throughout these invitationals. I try to spread them out so that we have time between them, and so then at the end, ASU fast pool, great environment, and every one of the pools that I select are fast pools, but that one is just the quintessential for Arizona swimming. And and they do real well. It's at night too, and we practice in the evenings, so that's usually better than the having to leave here at 4:00 in the morning and get there at 7:00 warm up, 9:00 start, and and it's cold and windy and all that stuff. So the ASU meet is our pinnacle as far as the invitationals before state. And we seem to do really well when we go there.
Okay, now for people like me who may not be familiar with all the swim terminology, you talked about fast pool. What exactly qualifies as a fast pool in the swim world?
So a fast pool is a deep pool, deeper than 6 feet, somewhere between 6 and 9 feet. A cool pool, so it's got to be somewhere around 78 degrees. And the reason is because when you're swimming, all those waves go out in all directions. If it's a shallow pool, then it's going to bounce off and come back and hit you. You get a lot of reverb off of the walls coming back in the lanes. Now, the lane lines suppress that, but they can't stop it. And so a faster pool is one where it takes longer for it to go down, and it's going to be weaker when it comes back. And it's a cooler pool, and better blocks and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So, Onwin, when you're going to these big invitationals, again, like Saturday Night Fever, like Craig Cummins, kind of like Bill said, you got 1,200 swimmers there, 30 teams. How much do you feel that gets you ready for what you're going to deal with when you get to the state meet?
Those are actually the first invites. Definitely, Crossfire, for example, is a lot more intimidating than state can be sometimes because it's so chaotic. There's people everywhere. You have to stop. There's a constant back and forth. Everyone's walking back to the blocks, to their tent, wherever. So that can actually be somewhat more stressful. Also, since it's the first invite. But yeah, in comparison to state, it's pretty good.
So it's almost like state is almost like the relaxing part. It's just getting through these invitationals that's the stressful part.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So Kaden, when you go to these first invites of the season, and again you have all the chaos around you and people yelling and screaming and running here and running there. Like, what do you do in order to keep everything straight in your head to know, okay, I got to be at this particular place at this particular time?
I'd say it all comes down to my experience. So I run track too, and I know those meets two or three times bigger than our swim meets, and it's just I've learned to zone everything out and not listen to anyone. sometimes that's like a bad thing if my coach is trying to talk to me and I'm
I was going to say, does that
Fully-
include not listening to your coaches?
yeah, I know like once I'm in the blocks, once I'm on that area, I don't hear anything. It's just naturally that I zone out.
Mhm.
And then when I start my race, it's just me and the water or me and the track, and I'm just going, and then I come back and then I'm open to everyone, but I zone out and I can't hear anything, don't do anything.
Okay. So, Anwin, out of all those 4 invites, again, you had Crosswide, Craig Cummins, Saturday Night Fever, Forktoberfest. Out of those 4 invites, which was probably your favorite one to swim in?
Oh, ASU. Every
Mm.
single year it's ASU. That pool is excellent. It's always, I love the night meets, and granted, like 3 of our meets this year were like evening meets, but ASU is just the best. It's an excellent facility, and I always have a lot of fun at that one, and I swim really well, so that makes it better too.
Caden, what about you? Out of those 4 invites, which one is probably your most favorite to swim at?
Well, I'd say ASU's pool is most favorite to swim at, but my favorite this year was the Saturday Night Fever at Chandler,
Mm-hmm.
just because I had a really big PR
Mhm.
in my 100 breasts, but that's probably about my favorites right there.
Okay. And, well, we talked about favorites, but Anwin, during the course of your swim career at Prescott High School, was there any place you've been to, any pool you swam at, where you just did not like it at all?
Yeah, I think last year, Flagstaff High School,
Mm-hmm.
their pool is not my favorite.
What made it not your favorite?
Well, for one, the elevation, and I think last year I swam the 200 IM, which, let me tell you, not my favorite event. It's not good to begin with, so going to a place of higher elevation makes that even worse.
Mhm.
Afterwards, Bill can tell you, I couldn't feel my nose for some reason. It was a little bit interesting. I had to sit down for a few because I also couldn't breathe. But that one, I'm not a fan of it.
It's also green.
It is green. It's very green.
The pool is green or the
Yes.
water is green
The
or
water
both?
is
Water.
green.
If the water is green, doesn't that constitute some major problem that needs to be corrected?
I think so, but yes, it's green. It's been green for the last 10 years that I've gone to that pool.
I mean, green is nice in a Shamrock Shake from McDonald's, but not in a swimming pool. I see green, I'm thinking like algae. So, yeah, I can see why that's not your favorite pool.
Yeah.
Caden, you gonna go along with Anwin and say Flagstaff was your least favorite pool to swim in?
Yeah, I'd probably say that. We also had a pool this year. I don't even know where it was, in the middle of Phoenix, and it was Bill got really scared. He was but what was that pool?
Cortez.
Yeah, Cortez. That was a little janky pool in the middle of nowhere, Phoenix. So
Oh,
Yeah, there
boy.
were a lot of drug dealers, drug paraphernalia all
Oh,
over the
boy.
place,
it's
and
crazy.
we were sitting in the parking lot, and the year before we had been at that pool, and while we were there, there weren't any problems. But I guess they had a shooting in that park that was right next to it, and so it's not my favorite pool. Definitely, I get nervous, and it's like I want to get them in and get them out, get them back on the bus, and get out of there.
Oh, man. Well, of course, Anwin, Caden, this is going to be your final year on the Prescott swim team. You're both seniors. So, Anwin, what's in the future for you once you graduate from Prescott?
Well, I haven't entirely decided on a college yet, but I'm hoping to swim when I do go to college and do something in the medical field. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Caden, what about you? What are your plans for after graduation?
So swim isn't my main sport. I'm doing track. I'm hoping to go to a college for track. I haven't I haven't decided really. Looking at a bunch of different places, and honestly, I don't know what I'd study. So if I don't go to college for track, then I might just stick to my diesel mechanics or trade school and all that kind of stuff and work on that.
Cool. And, of course, Bill, we only got a couple minutes left to go here. So looking ahead to next year, I guess you're going to have some recruiting to do to fill some key spots on the swim team, especially with these two departing.
Yeah, every year you look at it and you go like, oh, where am I going to get the best times, and and who's going to step up next, and I think we got a good base, and we're going to have to bring in some new freshmen, and we go to Future Badger Night to try to recruit, and then swimmers have them recruit their friends. And so that's where we're going to go, and hopefully we can find that diamond in the rough.
Okay. Well, folks, coming up to the end of the show here, I want to thank Coach Bill Revere from the Prescott swim team and two of his swimmers, Onwin Smith and Caden Daniels, for joining us here on the show. Bill, Onwin, Caden, thanks again for joining us, and congrats on a really good season for Prescott swim. Best of luck to you next year. Onwin, Caden, best of luck to you guys when you go off to college next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So once again, folks, coming up next Friday here on KYCA, we've got Elite 8 football action. Prescott will be over in Snowflake to continue their run through the state playoffs. Don't forget today at 4 p.m. on KYCA, ASU football at Kansas State. Also on 1450 a.m. The Team. More college football, Utah at Colorado at 9:30 a.m. Tennessee at Georgia at 5 p.m. Again, thanks for joining us here on the Tri-City Sports Roundup, folks. We will see you again